is recorded for posterity. So yeah.
Glad you didn't start a minute earlier.
You should keep quiet.
All right. In 20 seconds, the feed will populate on YouTube. So I'm just going to start talking with the moderator bits. First of all, everybody, welcome to CornCon 2020. If this is your first panel with us, if it's not, thanks for being around and watching stuff. We've been having a really good time. I have been a little bit panicky, but otherwise things have been good. I want to start off with a huge apologies to the earlier panel. If you were watching that one and you saw it die soon before people had a chance to round up and say goodbye, that was my fault. And it was a technical error. And I'm really, really sorry. Luckily, they only had about 4 minutes left to go, but still really sorry about that. As for this panel, we are here doing contests. What can they do for you? And if you're wondering, really, this was just an excuse for me to grab my closest author buddies and have us all in one panel together. So but we will actually talk about contests and what they can do for you or not a little bit, or more than a little bit. That's actually our topic. Thanks so much for being here. Before we get started, just a reminder that everyone should check out Artist Alley whenever they get a chance. We've got a lot of artists who have been hurt by the closure of so many of our favorite conventions. And so we're running our virtual Artist Alley in hopes of promoting people's works and helping them sell books, crafts, artwork, etc. So please check that out. And I'll also drop some, actually, if everyone could drop their social media links and stuff at the top of the chat. If you've got the chat up. If you don't have it, I will do it for you in a little bit. But please check out all of these lovely authors. There are 9 of us here. And yeah, and so we would love for you to look at our books because they are a living for a lot of us, and even for those they aren't, they're a nice supplemental income. And so yeah, buy our stuff. What am I forgetting? Because I'm sure I'm forgetting something. I got 3 hours of sleep last night, so I probably should have made someone else the moderator for this at the last second. But here we all are. So I guess we'll do some introductions. We'll go around. I did not even say yet that I am Virginia McLean. I am an indie author, a SFPBO finalist, and also the organizer of this convention with the help of a lot of amazing volunteers. Well, 20 amazing volunteers, thereabouts. So next up, it would be anybody who wants to go. We'll go in alphabetical order.
I just wanted to get some of your amazing misnomers in as well. Virginia McLean is one of them.
Yeah. Excellent. And that's like super inaccurate because I am not clean.
there was virginal too. So.
Yeah, also.
And Victoria at one point.
Victoria.
Definitely Victoria. Yeah, yes. I get confused for my my main character in my UF series a lot. It doesn't look anything like
actually
me,
you.
Yeah, right. I've just been writing myself this whole time.
We knew it.
Yeah, it's what we all do, isn't it?
It's a dark moment when you figure it out.
Right? You're like, oh,
I killed myself.
It's taking write what you know to a new level.
Nice.
Calling someone.
Okay, calling someone. Alicia, you go. You're right. You're first up on my screen, and also your name starts with A.
It does. I am Alicia. I write books. I haven't been writing many books lately because I've been editing books and watching Netflix because quarantine life, right?
Right.
From Australia, in the UK, my time zones are all messy. I don't know whether it's breakfast, lunchtime, middle of the night. I don't know. I have alcohol. Let's go.
Definitely Australian, yeah.
Kiwi goes next.
All right, Alicia, you name someone now. Yes,
Levi's next.
Okay, make the American go. My name's Levi. I'm another finalist in this self-published fantasy blog off that brought us all together. That shall not separate us when one victor is chosen. Like the Highlander, there can be more than one. I write epic fantasy, such as this novel, just not the author's copy.
Oh, that's cheating, man.
We did in the last panel. Bring it out. Yeah, I've been in a few contests. There are some that I've won locally that got me agents and editors stuff, and others that I've lost. So excited to talk about that in general heckling. And I call on Angela.
Okay, so I'm Angela Board, and this is Fortune's Fool is my book that's in SFPBO right now. It's my debut novel, but other than that, I'm just like, I'm a homeschool mom. I have 9 kids, and 2 of them are graduated, and the other 7 are at home, and I kind of write at my kitchen table, and haven't had any other experience with any other contests. And SFPBO is really what kind of got me into indie fantasy in the first place in like 2017, and when I was following along with it and I didn't know anything. So anyway, that's me. So I get to call on somebody else now, right?
Yep,
so
that's
I
right.
call on Lisa.
Hey guys, Lisa Cassidy. I am also Australian, actually in Australia right now. So it's 7 a.m. and I haven't had coffee. So I will
Oh my gosh.
attempt to be articulate and say sensible things. Also this year's SFPBO finalist. Yeah, also looking forward to talking about, this is the first competition I've been in SFPBO this year. So definitely keen to chat about that with you guys. I call him Darian the Kiwi.
Hey there. Yeah, as was mentioned, I'm Kiwi, so I'm from New Zealand, another SFPBO finalist, obviously. I've been in a few competitions before, quite a lot of short story ones. There was a phase here that for some reason we just had a whole heap of short story competitions, and I went, I'm going to enter them. And yeah, so SFPBO, this was my first time discovering SFPBO, and have really enjoyed it. And I'm going to do the Levi trick and go, this is my book.
Well, it keeps disappearing.
Yeah, sneaky background made it vanish. Who's left to pick on? Rob, go for it.
Okay. Hi, I'm Rob. Rob Hayes. I'm pretty much a veteran of SFPBO at this point. I won it one year. Who knows? Entrance. I don't know. I've been in it 3 times and I've been a judge in it once. Well, if we're doing the showing off our books, here's one that I wrote.
Oh yeah, you did write that.
That's the word on the street.
Nice.
A couple of days. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's me. Is there anybody left?
Yeah, with this Miracle and Sonia.
Miracle, over to you.
I'm Miracle. It says ML Wong on my books. I am here for emotional support and just
For us to emotionally support you, or for you to emotionally support us?
I was gonna say to support you guys. We'll go with that. Stick with that story. Yeah, because SFPBO is the only competition that I've entered as an adult. I won some stuff when I was in 5th grade, but probably you don't want to hear about that.
She sounds pretty cool.
So I wrote The Sword of Kaigan. This one is mine, and
How thick is
yeah, that's about it.
It's very thick.
Yeah, that's why nobody finished it.
So many DNFs on that one.
All right.
And Sonia.
Hi, I'm Sonia. This is the second SFPBO I've entered. I entered the first time in 2017, and I'm, just here. So not much to say.
All right, that's our cast, our crew. We are missing our dear friend Rob Power, who couldn't make it this evening. Really, it's just that only 9 squares show up nicely, and we just decided to kick him out.
Yeah, we voted him off the island.
Yeah. we can really only fit 9 of us in this Brady Bunch.
That's
So.
It's actually what this panel is we have to keep voting each other off until there's just one left. Get bloody.
But yeah, Rob Power couldn't make it, which is too bad, but we love him dearly, and we all wish he were here right now. But Yeah, so the thing is, we're technically supposed to keep talking about contests a little bit, and at least for a little while, keep up the charade. And I had some questions that I floated to you guys. I don't know how many people actually looked at them, but the first question was, how has SFPBO affected your writing career? And because there are so many of this, we'll try to keep, give us a couple sentences on what it has done to your career so far, if anything. And all answers are acceptable.
I sleep less.
Fair.
My phone is just like bing, 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 bing all the time. So, I mean, people are like buying my books now, which is nice.
That is nice.
I bought this nice chair. Thanks, people.
Thanks to people buying your books.
I have a chair now. Yeah, it's most because like you're a tiny fish in a really big pond, and you spend a lot of time trying to make a lot of noise. And if you're not someone who naturally feels really comfortable shouting about your own work, which I don't, I'm more like, people say, oh, what's your book about? I'm like, I don't know. You just go and read it and you tell me if you like it. If you don't, I don't want to know. And that's it. And like, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's kind of just given a bit of a boost. And I've met, obviously, you guys, and I like you.
Yeah.
You're cute.
We're pretty likable.
Yeah, that's it, really, for me.
When we're not poisoning each other with cake.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But what a way to go.
And I mean, especially one of your cakes, Darren, which is so pretty.
Oh, thank you. I figure if I'm going to murder you, I might as well do it in a pretty way.
Yeah, you want it to be
pleasing
stylish.
Style.
Right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we were promised a corset for this panel.
Oh, that was
oh yeah.
Fair point.
You did. Yeah. Were there going to be cigars too?
I could get some. I'll answer on a more serious note.
Yes, please, instead of going on the cake.
I mean, okay. So it sold more books for me, which is cool. I feel like I found a lot of readers, which is cool. So career-wise, that's probably it. I feel like there have been SFPBO finalists and winners who've gone on to get trad deals and get audiobooks. I personally haven't had any of that offered.
Yet.
But, yes. For me personally, it defeated imposter syndrome for a while, which is a thing that us authors go through, where we feel like we're definitely faking it and these other people have their stuff together. And I was kind of like, wow, they chose me a little bit. And then as I got to know you all better and read your books, it came back harder. And it's been another layer of rhino skin coming over what I thought I already had to get some of the reviews and to just, objectively see that your book's not for everyone in a very public way versus with a critique group or just with your sales page on Amazon.
Right.
So I feel like that is a professional skill, is to be able to take that and to take bad reviews with grace. And I think that most of us have had some practice with that through this contest. So that's been helpful, even if it hurts.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's definitely that to be gained from this kind of competition. Yeah, for sure. Would anyone else like to comment on how SFPBO has affected their career, sales, or otherwise?
I think.
I guess so.
Oh yeah.
You go first, Rob. You go, Rob.
I was just going to say, I think it's certainly helped for me to get my name out there a bit more, to become a little bit more well known, which I think is kind of the most you can really hope for. I mean, there's always going to be those occasional breakout stars like Senlin, Josiah Bancroft and Senlin and Sens, but I think for the most part, it's just like SFPBO and probably most of the other competitions out there, contests out there, are more just a way to meet people, other authors, and readers, but yeah, just to sort of like get a bit more well known, get your name out there, and hope that a few more people read your book.
I'm on a live call.
Good, Sonia.
It's all good. We all have, this is
Yeah.
this is the part where we diverge wildly from a real con where we would all be in a panel room together, and it's less likely that any of our children might come running through or our cats jump on our faces, or whatever. But yeah.
Beagle beside me, so.
Is there a beagle just right there, Rob?
She's just snoring.
Well,
like dogs when they've got their eyes open but actually closed, and they're just sort of like staring at you. It's freaky.
I'm actually kind of surprised my cat isn't standing here in front of the camera. You know, I mean, he likes to do that. Just stand right here in front of the keyboard so I can't work.
Oh, look at that.
Aw. So cute.
Excellent. It's important to see Cora whenever possible. My dog is well, she's also asleep over by the couch, but the between here and the couch is so messy. I'm not going to show you the dog.
Yeah, there's a reason I put up a fake background.
I've got you all pointed at my very nice ceiling. That's yeah. Yeah. So any other competitions? I mean, that's an interesting point from Rob too. Is like Rob has won SFPBO before, and so I'm curious to know if you're willing to talk about it a little bit more, Rob, before we move on. How much of a bump did SFPBO give your career the first time you entered it versus this time?
It's actually really hard to tell because the first time I entered with Where Loyalties Lie, which just has been nowhere near as successful a book as my current one, Never Die, has been. So it's kind of hard to tell if winning it really bumped it more than just being a finalist has actually done. It probably did a little bit. It probably helped, you know, a few more people hear of me, and that's certainly something that I can stick on my accolades and say, "Hey, I won."
Stick that on your CV.
Exactly. But so I honestly don't know if winning it has been ultimately a hell of a lot more successful than just being a finalist. Either which way, I feel that whether you win or don't, that's not the biggest benefit you're ever going to get anyway. It's the friends you make along the way.
It sure is.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, well, yeah, if we keep going with this, I think we're ultimately, I think, going to get to the moral, the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop, which is that, like, I think for us in this particular group, I feel like the best thing that I've gotten out of this competition is you guys and our group chat, which for those who are watching, you may not know, but the 10 of us, all, including Rob, who couldn't make it, other Rob, Murder Rob.
Murder Rob.
Into what the group chat is like. One of our characters is called Murder Rob.
That's Murder Rob. We have a little group chat that we check in with each other like all the time, multiple times a day, and it's just really lovely. The group is so supportive. Everybody's so sweet, and like I've had like Blade's Edge was in another competition once and became a finalist, and I have no idea who else was even a finalist at the same time. Like it was just a very different feel from this competition and the community that we've created.
I think some of that comes through with how it's structured as a competition as well. A lot of competitions, they put out a call, they say submit, you submit, you might get a list of who the judges are, it goes away, there's a short list, there's finalists, that's it. There's no real, that they might do a short kind of, we liked this book because, we chose this book because, but you're not going to get that kind of constant feedback that you get through SFPBO, where you're getting reviews dropping throughout the competition, throughout phase 1, when they're culling books down to the final 10, and then you're getting into phase 2 where every book's going to get a review from, I would say, pretty much every reviewer, because the Quillery didn't put up a review, which is fine, you know, cool. But you know, it's that feedback that you're getting along the way that you don't really get with other competitions. Like I've entered other competitions, I don't know how I did, I don't know what they thought, I don't know why or why not, it didn't go anywhere. So that's what I've enjoyed about this competition, just the competition part. Then there's the friends, and the friends are cool.
I think that's a really good point. Excuse me, because I think a lot of competitions you get absolutely no feedback unless you're a winner, basically, and then you go, you won. But this one, even if you haven't made it to the finalist stage, most books got some, even just a little bit of feedback, and the feedback is massively valuable for us as writers. I think, even if you don't necessarily agree with it, getting that different perspective is really helpful.
Yeah, if you hear the same thing from enough places, it's, it can become something that you maybe want to keep in mind.
I think so. That's how you work with editing generally, like and beta readers, is that if one person comes back and says, oh, this didn't really work for me, that could just be their subjective opinion. If 10 of them come back and say the same thing, that's probably something that overall doesn't work. Yeah. So that's something that I've been able to take away from this. It's funny that when my book went away to somebody else, they came back and said, oh no, your characters are far too young. And then I aged them, matured them, and everyone's like, oh no, now they're too old for their age. I'm like, no, what is it? So that's like, again, that was one person's subjective opinion, and I
ran with it.
And overall it probably didn't work out as well as it could have. So yeah, 100% getting that across the board feedback has been really, really cool.
Yeah. And it's really interesting with SFPBO because there are the 10 judges, and even within each judge, there's often multiple people who are actually making up that judge blog. So the feedback we're getting is really broad. So if you get, some subjective views that are, as you say, if they all agree, you've got something to take notice of.
For this year as well, because I think in previous years most of the judges have been like one person, but or at least it's felt like they've been sort of one person. But this year, especially with like some of the teams like the Hive, you get a really sort of detailed breakdown from all the different members, all the different judging members of the judging team. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting format though. Like the conversational style of some of those reviews wind up being. I personally find it a little weird to watch for my own book, but I've actually enjoyed it for other people's books. But for my own book, it's sort of like, you don't really want to sit in on a conversation other people are having about your book.
I agree with him, like, you're wrong. You guys are cool. Like, I'm stuck.
No.
Like watching a car crash, though, you can't look away. You've
right? Yeah. Like, oh. But it's been like reading the reviews about your guys' books. It's been really interesting. But I do that format, the group conversation is kind of neat, and is an interesting twist on a more standard blog review. So what were some of the other questions that I emailed you guys about? Let's see.
Should we talk about other contests?
Yeah, have you guys who has done another contest other than SFPBO?
I can talk for a while because it got a little crunchy. So there are a couple of regional writers conferences here in Colorado, Pikes Peak Writers Conference and the Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers. And they invite a bunch of trad agents and editors, and like if you pay to get in, then you get to pitch them, etc. And then they usually have a writing contest. And the idea is that if you win this, you're probably going to get like a special audience with the editor or agent who judged it. And I have won those 3 times and placed another time. And 2 of the 3 times it meant, well, 3 of the 4 times it meant absolutely nothing. And then 1 time from the agent who judged it, I got an offer of representation, and from the editor who judged it, I got offered a 3-book contract. And the agent convinced me not to take the 3-book contract, and now I'm indie. So there's a longer story there. But the editor who offered me that contract at Kensington said that this is literally the first time that I've ever offered anyone in a contest this contract, which was eye-opening to me because I figured people were getting it all the time. But I think that's a function of how big or well-known the contest is. And you guys have probably not heard of these conferences that I just mentioned, even though they're expensive to go to and people from Tor, et cetera, go there because they don't have the notoriety, and so probably they don't draw in the talent that something like SFPBO does, if I can pat us all on the back.
If you could just call us all talented. Thanks, Levi.
You're funny.
You know it. I'm not telling you anything new.
I think I had a very similar experience with Callanon's Rising before it was published. New Zealand has an organisation for speculative fiction, SpecFic NZ, and they ran a competition for unpublished manuscripts, and I won that. And it was relatively early on in my exploration into contests, and I was like, great, I won. This is going to open doors for agents and publishers, and everyone's going to be interested because I've won this national competition. I know it's a small nation, but still. And nobody gave a damn, in all honesty.
The sheep didn't care.
The sheep didn't care, the agents didn't care, nobody cared. It took me forever to get an agent, and yeah. Yeah, so I think I guess our expectations certainly, or my expectations in the early days of what a contest would mean if you won it were much higher than reality. In reality, it's lovely and more people do hear about you, but you're not instantly going to become, 50 Shades of Famous.
Yeah.
It's also been interesting in our contest to, like, as indies, because we have the business side to our work, to be aware of who amongst us is selling and compare their Amazon sales rank to their contest rank, because they're not necessarily analogous at all.
True story. I can think of one really strong.
Yeah,
example of
yeah,
that.
really.
Everyone
Someone
go
among
check
us is
Rob
selling a
Patter's
lot of
Amazon
books.
rankings. If you want to see sales numbers compared to SFPBO performance, yeah, that's a very solid point. Because his numbers are always up. Like I check his I check his rankings every now and again, and they're always quite a bit higher than mine.
Well, every book that I look at on Amazon, he's the ad underneath. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
you're powerful.
Power.
But it sort of feels like, to me at least, that's the real contest, because I'm in this to quit my day job, and I want to be that person who can do it. And I think SFPBO's got me a little bit closer, but there are people who it hasn't pushed who are already very far along the way, or who are there.
I wanted to say that that's been one of the really cool things too, not just comparing sales numbers, but like there's the whole friendship component, which I could just embarrass myself and go on about how important that has been to me. I'm terrible at making
Go
friends,
ahead.
but I also have lots of anxiety attacks, and they're always here for me, like no matter what weird hour of the night, because they're Australians and stuff.
And people who don't sleep.
But yeah, one of the really valuable things has been with you guys specifically, not just that you are cool people, but you're also cool people who are I've never had author friends before, and you guys specifically are all in a similar place on your career path to me. And like there's variation, like we brought up, there are people who are stronger on the sales end, and there are people who are stronger on with the critical reviews, but I didn't even realize how valuable that is just as a resource and a sounding board for ideas in general, because like I have friends who are like comic book artists and they're D&D writers and stuff, which is phenomenal. And often they give like really good feedback on storytelling and stuff, but it is not the same as having a group of people who are doing exactly the thing that you're trying to do and running into exactly the same problems and are at all different places in solving those problems. So that's been really cool.
And having like trad pub friends and indie friends, like trad pub friends, like I don't know how to choose an editor. I've never had to choose an editor.
Right.
So that's something that you can bounce off other people, and that community, as much as being in a contest has been really interesting from the contest side, the community side, and making friends with people who follow the competition as well, because there's people who follow this competition every year as it goes around, just to find new books to read. And they're not always the ones that end up in the top 10. There's books that were semi-finalists or got cut way back that people are like, oh, that's my new favorite read, love it. Again, subjective opinions. So it's worth not just looking at that final shortlist of people who've made it through, it's worth going back through and going, is there something else? Is there an urban fantasy in here? Is there a fairy tale retelling? Is there something else that might float my boat? Because there was 300 books entered in this thing.
Yeah.
300. There's gonna be something in there for you, even if we're not it. So that's what I like about this particular competition. Cool.
And a lot of really, really good books fell through the cracks too, right? Like there are a number of, and I think we're seeing that too with like there's some really wonderful judges who have, after finishing with us, the 10 finalists, have moved on to reviewing and touting loudly some really solid semi-finalists and other books that didn't move past the earlier rounds. And it's been really lovely to see that and see books that are good, like, and see them getting supported by the rest of the SFPBO community. And then it's cool, and it's neat to dive through. I'm going to go through all the semifinalists at some point and pick out a stack of reads.
Read them all. That's like 30 odd books. A lot.
Huge.
No, 50. Each judge picked 5 semi-finalists, was it?
Yeah.
God, 50 books. That would take me about 2 years to read.
That's less than a year's worth of reading for me, but it's still, I have other books to read too, so.
We're all as cool as you.
I just read a lot normally, although I haven't.
Where are you?
I haven't read anything in weeks.
It's the apocalypse. It makes it hard to concentrate.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Who decided
Although
to
when the
show
zombies
that?
attack, I'm going to use Miracle's book to fight them off because that looked pretty.
Angela's is the best,
I'm
actually.
pretty sure you could probably use Angela's.
I have
Angela,
it. You want? Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Put it to the side.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's a step stool.
Lucky boy. Oh,
Well, like a-
It's a weapon, basically.
I should have. I'd have to grab all 5 of my books put into the omnibus for my Elite fantasy series, about the same size. But that's.
I mean,
Yeah.
I got this. That's what's serious.
all the books behind me aren't mine.
Aw.
There's
Oh yeah,
like-
well it's because you're
Them
currently
all?
in exile.
I have a couple of mine, but they're all, that's stock, and then
Yes.
none of them are mine. So I'm like, we're not going to show that.
That's all we can actually see behind you at this point is booze.
Turn yourself into a TARDIS, or do that.
Oh, but whiskey's there. That's okay.
All right. In general, before I can see we've got
Getting some
a few
questions.
some questions coming in, which is great. But we still have 26 minutes, so I'm gonna do one more of our original questions. The last one, really, before we get into silly questions about Murder Rob and cake. But in general,
There's so many things we're not saying. We're not adding on to that.
I mean, the message
So
group has
many.
about 400 messages a day.
there's so many inside jokes that the audience would just be like, "Okay, you guys think you're funny, but what?"
Stop talking about cake.
Cake.
I promise the poop here, it's not coming up.
Well, you just way to go, Levi. You brought it up.
They don't,
It sound like the chat is about like really intelligent things all the time, like craft and sales, but it's mostly
Cake.
Tom.
Gift wars and STDs and
We sometimes discuss, and then we talk about the reviews that come in a completely emotionally divorced context.
Yeah,
Oh,
very
yes, of course, very professional the entire
Yeah.
time.
I got a 4. How interesting.
Oh, isn't that interesting take? They bring up some valid points. Yeah. Sorry, guys. That is, yeah. It should be no surprise to anyone that we are all humans as authors, and that when we get those reviews and have a chance to talk to each other privately, we rant a bit.
There
Are we going to do our review of the reviewers?
Yes.
Oh,
Each 10 of us each give a grade to the reviewers. That's a dangerous idea. Let's move on.
It's a
Yeah,
very
let's,
dangerous idea. That way leaves the black book
Don't
in
give
the
away the
Yeah.
secrets. So overall, I mean, some of us have done more than one contest. Some of us have only done SFPBO. But well, the final question I had was, in general, do you guys think contests are worthwhile?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think free contests are worthwhile.
Yes, I agree.
Free contests, yes. Free contests are
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd pay to enter a contest for the same way that I don't think I pay to get published.
Right.
Yeah.
Pay for reviews.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, I have paid for a review once. I don't think I'd do it again. So yeah, I feel that you do get something out of contests the same way you do a review or whatever. But I don't think paying to enter a contest would be worth it. And you know, even if there was a really big reward at the end of it, because or prize at the end of it.
What are your
So
chances?
you're pretty low.
Yeah, I think that's a really solid point. The feed contest in general, the contests with fees. I realize that feed sounded like, but the contest with fees, I think really most of them are expensive enough that it's just not worth it because the chance of you making that money back are really slim. But there is one though. I submitted Blade's Edge to the Wishing Shelf Book Awards one time, which is a very small. Well, very small. It's a smallish contest run out of the UK. And it's a very small fee is the actual thing that is small. It's like, I don't know, 15 quid or something. So it's not, it doesn't feel like it's an unwise investment. And then they have an option for you to get feedback from the panels that read it. And they have actual readers, just like reader groups that read everything and then give feedback and rank stuff, and then that's how they sort things out. So it seems to me it's way more upfront about the back end of things, much like SFPBO, and it's a very small fee. But that's so far that's the only paid contest I've heard of that actually seems like a worthwhile thing to throw money at, and even that is it may or may not have helped me get a book bub. But other than that, adding that Blade's Edge was a finalist was one of the things that maybe tipped BookBub to giving me a featured deal. But that's kind of it. That was the only noticeable benefit out of it, really.
I guess I should add that I think that SFPBO probably greased the wheels for me getting an international BookBub deal. And Darian, that might be true for you too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That and missing Rob Power's wonderful and much desired partner Jan telling us to just keep applying.
Jan, the coveted
Jan.
Jan.
Oh, yes.
Jan, Candace, so many mysterious figures in our life.
I'm periodically checking my phone to see if Rob is listening. He was for a while, but I haven't seen any responses to our Jan comments. There is a 20-second delay though, so we'll see. So yeah, did anyone else want to add to that? The worthwhile contests, etc. Does anyone know of any other contests that they think are worth entering?
I feel like the Writers of the Future contest is a pretty big and big name. And I think that, Pat Rothfuss got his deal on the back of that. And there's been some other big authors who've gotten TradPub deals from that. And you are going to get TradPub in a book that's really widely distributed. It's a super hard contest, but I enter every quarter.
Okay. Worth noting. Anybody else? There's a lot of comments about Rob's hat and Dirk's pants going on right now in the chat. So I can see our audience is taking this just as seriously as we are.
Can I be weird for a second?
Please.
The only contest that I ever entered prior to this, like I said, this is the only contest I've entered as an adult. So the other one I won like state and international a couple times when I was a child, like in 5th grade. But that writing competition was part of something called Future Problem Solvers, or FPS, which I don't think that either my writing or my critical thinking skills would have been as good if I hadn't gotten started with that in 4th grade. And I haven't checked in a long time to see if there's like manual or something you can download to find out how to be an FPS instructor. But just like thinking about things that I would want to do with my kid in quarantine in a crisis, because it's all about solving like scary sci-fi hypotheticals. So not only is it writing and critical thinking, but it's also like a systematized way to come up with the optimal solution and then pose an action plan to a potential scary sci-fi problem. So if anybody wants to look that up and get it started with their kids.
It's funny you said that about like winning something as a child. I didn't win anything. I think I got like a runner-up or a commended or something. That was same age, primary school. I found the little plaque that I got. It was super cute. First award I'd ever won. You know, probably the only one. So good. I got
I
a
still
trophy.
have the trophy, which is like a ludicrously large trophy for a child who's probably like
You know, and it was just a thing. And then, you know, I got a little paragraph of feedback and it was like, you did this really well. And then, you know, maybe you need to work on that. And I remember that still getting that and being like, I can be better. And it was such a like a boost as a young person that I think that, again, going back to the feedback loop can be really important. And I'm not sure, I understand why competitions don't do it across the board, especially if they're massive, they've got lots and lots of entries, but it is really, really helpful. And any competition contest that can consider giving some sort of feedback to their participants, even if it's, this is why you didn't progress, I think that that's really, really valuable. And it makes it mean that, you know, it's worth the time and effort and the stress on your part as an author.
Yeah.
So
also makes it clear somebody actually read your book, which is always nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
They didn't just DNF it.
They just, oh, too soon, Levi, too soon.
There is that, because especially when you're starting out as a writer and you have really only shown your stuff to friends and family who all go, oh, that's great, that's wonderful, but you don't really know. It's so nice to get something from a complete stranger that goes, you know, this was good, this was not so good, or, you know, yes, you win, or whatever it is. And it verifies that you're on the right track, and that makes a huge difference.
yes.
You say your friends and family are going to say that's wonderful, but I still maintain the first ever 1-star I got was from my own uncle.
My wife and I, because she's a writer as well, so we started out sort of comparing ideas when we came up with ideas for stories, and we realized that we had this pattern where I would be like super excited because I had this idea, but I don't express them well verbally. So I would be like, oh, this happens, and then this happens, and she'd be like, oh no, dude, that sounds pretty shit. I mean, no, it's going to be good. And then I have to go away and write it. But she gave me really good feedback.
Because that's going to be awkward. Like, like, I'm the editor of the house, and like editing month is not a fun month. No one is friends with anybody.
Yeah, that's a hard time. Yeah. I used to, like, my husband used to read all my stuff first draft, because I used to, before I was actually publishing anything, and I was just like, oh, I'm writing stuff here, read it. And he'd be like, oh, this is great, so nice. And then once I actually started doing things seriously, I got actual, like, real critique and feedback from him. I'm like, oh, okay, he's actually not, you know, he's
not an expert.
No, he's great. He's a great editor. No, it's just that before he was like just being really enthusiastic, because I was just being really enthusiastic. I was like spewing forth words and sending them to him via email, and he was reading them going, oh, it's so great, what a great story. And then later on, when I was taking it more seriously, I'd be like, okay, what do you think of this? And then he would actually give me critique that is, you know, and it's, you know, it stings for a little bit, and you have to go sit in your corner and process, and then be like, okay, well, this was valid, this was just his opinion. But yeah, okay, it looks like if anyone else wants to comment on that, go for it. But it looks like, oh, no, Google, I did not talk to you. My phone is like, what did you say? Okay, Google, I did not. Nope, I didn't. Crap, no, I did. So we've got some questions, and we've only got about 15 minutes left. So I just wanted to go through, and wow, there's a massive wall of text that people have been sending. Let's see if I can hunt out the actual questions. If anyone else is looking at the feed and sees something, let me know. Well, one question I can see is, based on his background, is Darian writing from within the world of BioShock? Because that's awesome.
I'm glad it finished that way because I thought it was going to be, is Darian writing from experience? I'm like, no, I've not murdered anyone in real life.
He
No.
does raise undead and kill people, so yes.
Except for the cake.
I think they're just looking at your background and thinking that you're in the.
Oh, no, this is the TARDIS. This is,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
So we have a question. What's the contestants' plans after SFPBO?
Okay.
Will they enter any further competitions? I'm personally curious if you guys are going to enter SFPBO again. Rob,
I probably would.
It's been going well for Rob. No, sorry.
I would, but I'm not going to have anything that is SFPBO eligible probably until 2022, 23. So
Yeah,
because it's that first book or standalone. So depending on how quickly I can finish this trilogy, then that one and what happens with that one and whether I sub that out or just go straight to India, I don't know, but that will be the next, like I've got to wait until I finish this trilogy before I will actually have something that's eligible. So that's probably the thing that would stop me from entering comps is whether or not
Standalone readability.
like, yeah, that eligibility criteria.
Can we all enter in the same year and crush it again?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Try. We'll just judge our own competition, submit all our own books, and decide we're all finalists.
And just
That's,
validate
yeah.
ourselves. I think I'm probably going to enter not this coming round because I don't have anything, but I plan to have something for the round after.
Yeah, same. I think probably something next year after.
yeah.
Yeah, 2021, 22, somewhere in there is, I'll plan on entering something. So
So none of you are entering next year because I have an eligible book.
go for it.
Go for it,
We'll
Rob.
cheer you on,
I'll
Rob.
just cheer you on. It'll actually
You
be
on
really
your
fun
judge
to
here?
have only you waiting for reviews.
Team Rob.
Yeah, I might enter something in 2021. Technically, Blade's Edge's sequel, Trader's Hope, can be read as a standalone. Like they're both separate. They're sequential, but they can be read non-sequentially. So I'm wondering if I can submit it and if I want to. Honestly, when I reread Trader's Hope in order to get ready to release book 3 or to write book 3, it made me cringe way less than rereading Blade's Edge. So, and Blade's Edge is a finalist, so I figure it ought to do okay, or it'll just completely,
Why not?
diff in the first round because that happens to a lot of good books. So, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe 2020, Rob. Maybe I'm coming for you. Probably not though. Probably 2021 when the third book comes out, which is starting a new sub-series in the series, and therefore is definitely.
I just enter both. Just keep going. It's fine.
I may have been asked to join a judging team today.
What?
Whoa!
Ooh it.
So, Rob.
Get you to read my book. There we go. I'll force you to do it.
She doesn't have to
Rob,
read it,
which book would you be entering? Would you be entering the first Esca book?
Yeah, if it was, it would be the Along the Razor's Edge, which is my latest release.
It's been doing well.
It's been doing fairly well so far. But I don't know. To be honest, I haven't planned whether or not I'm going to actually enter this coming year or not. Who knows? I shall make that decision later on when I've stopped releasing books and I can actually chill out for a moment.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
Someone has asked here actually is when everyone's new releases are. So I feel like we should first mention that Rob is in the process of releasing
my new release is in 4 days' time.
There you go.
Which is the second book in the War Eternal trilogy.
Nice. And Levi,
I just dropped book 4 a couple days ago.
There you go.
And the rest of my series is on sale. If you want to pick them all up.
Awesome. And Lisa?
Put that cover in front of the screen a bit more because it is beautiful, that cover.
It is. I love that color.
I'm glad you like it. It's not my favorite.
You're weird. It's gorgeous. But Lisa, you had a new release recently as well?
Yep. So book 3 in the Tale of Stars and Shadow, which is this year's finalist, came out April 1st. So your coffee and your coffee.
April
They both
1st.
begin with A.
Yeah.
August, April. Yeah.
Let's see, other questions we've got. A lot of SFPBO conversations seem to revolve around winners, but how valuable do you feel the consistent exposure throughout the comp is? I feel like we've talked about this a little bit, but I'm going to poke us a little bit back towards our main.
I think that's probably actually one of the most beneficial things of the actual contest, because there's the whole thing of the buying mentality where people are more likely to buy something they have seen multiple times than they are likely to buy something that they have seen just the once. So the more that your book is being reviewed, is being shoved into the public I think the more likely it is that people will go, oh yeah, I'll pick that one up and give it a read. So I think that's probably one of the most beneficial things about the contest, to be honest.
And personally, just in terms of sales, I've gotten continual bumps, like little highs and lows periodically throughout the competition as a new review comes out, or as someone mentions something on Twitter or whatever, and you just you see these little spikes throughout. So it's actually, I think that's one of the best things about SFPBO, aside from you guys, is that the sort of that continual exposure is actually really great in a way that a lot of other competitions aren't, because the book just keeps showing up in front of people. So not just the 7 touches to make one person buy it, but oh yeah, I was going to buy that, and then a different person feels that same way a week later or whatever, and it just it's good. And some people just click one on the first shot. But
I'm pretty into Bubble Fett's answer or question. What is your biggest takeaway from the competition?
It's so broad.
I can go because mine is so easy. Mine is to have your book professionally edited.
To have it professionally edited. Yes.
I revised this thing sloppily a few times and threw it in, not thinking it would go anywhere, just to force myself to do it. And it was good enough to be a finalist, but it had huge internal consistencies and grammar mistakes and all kinds of things. And I think I would have done better if I had had the thing edited. So that's my takeaway. All books going forward will be clean copies.
That's solid. Anyone else have other things? I was just going to gush about you guys, but
you guys are right.
Levi mentioned imposter syndrome earlier, and that's definitely been a thing for me, particularly given SFPBO is my first competition I've ever entered. To have some really decent reviews come out from some of the bloggers that have reviewed A Tale of Stars and Shadow kind of kills some of that I'm not really a writer, this is not actually a good book instinct that you can't help feeling. Again, we've all talked about the friendship thing. That's been my absolute best thing coming out of the competition. But in terms of individual takeaways, having some of that validation has been pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point. If no one has any immediate comments, I do like this last question that Travis Tippins has asked. What's one thing you'd change about the contest or how you'd approach the contest in the future? And I feel like we've had this discussion in our chat a couple times. So if you can think of a safe way to verbalize, what would you do?
Mark, if you're listening.
No one wants to take that one?
Not save all my scores from the end. I don't actually care about anybody else. If I could get those sooner.
Yeah, for people who aren't tracking it,
so
like most of us have 8 to 10 scores and Miracle has 3, 4.
Yeah.
And I already touched on my anxiety, so this is super great.
Yeah, has it been fun, has it? I think shit, where did it go?
Alicia, I'm going to say something that maybe you could tie into what you're going to say, but I think we've noticed a consistency issue that we've felt. I don't know what the proper way to address it is, but it feels like maybe some kind of rubric or something might make some reviews seem a little less out of left field, score-wise.
One person's 6 is not another person's 6.
Yeah.
So some sort of an understanding across the competition of what for judges as well, especially if you're a newbie who hasn't done it before, what I might mark something as a 5 or a 6, someone else might be like, well, that's an 8, on their scale. So, but also when you get through from phase 1 and you're given your blog's score, and I don't know how everyone else, I know I've talked about it before in the group, but when you're, our scores go up from our blog that chose us as our finalists, they go up into that matrix and they influence our final score. We don't all start from a level playing field where we all start with just like our blog, assume every single book that's been chosen by a blog gets a 10. We all start with a 0.
Right.
In our blog.
Yeah.
You know, some of us have started with, like Miracle, 9.5. Some of us started with, 8, you know, like we're all over the place, but we're all finalists. So it's like, should we be starting on a level playing field?
This is actually like a fun math problem that comes up in like karate tournaments a lot. Where there are some tournaments where like the person like running the ring, or for like form competitions where it is subjective, where you're judging the quality of like a performance. The guy running the show will take you aside and just be like, okay, the kid who goes first is a 7. The kid who goes first is a 7. And then every kid who goes after him is relative to a 7.
Up or down.
Like you just adjust up or down. Yeah.
I mean,
that involves a lot of like coordination in math.
It does. Which I think actually draws to a point. So someone asked a new question, which is, would anyone on the panel consider creating and running a new contest? And I can't speak for anybody else, but my personal reaction would be, oh, hell no. Because Mark Lawrence puts a huge amount of work. All the bloggers put a huge amount of work into this. And while we are offering a critique since someone asked, I don't think I could do anything close to the competition as it exists now. And so while we might have things that we thought could be better, I don't think that means any of us think that we can actually do better. I think it's just.
I think that's the thing to take away from that is, okay, we can sit there and suggest a few sort of like improvements or whatever, but the Mark and the judges are all doing this off their own backs. It's all voluntary, and what they do is absolutely amazing. So,
absolutely.
I would never even begin to imagine putting in the amount of work that they do.
And like you said, it's free. So
yeah, it's free, exactly.
Worth it by default.
Yep. And and everybody involved is a volunteer, and it's really it's just what it is, I mean, nothing is perfect, right? I'm sure we can all come up with things we'd like to see slightly different, but it's a fabulous version of what it is, and I'm really appreciative of it as a thing that exists.
I think we've all talked about the
applauses to the judges or something.
Yeah, seriously.
This is our moment to do it.
For all the time they've spent reading and reviewing.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I cut you off.
We have 1 minute left, and there is another panel starting after us, so I don't want us to go over. But I guess we'll wrap up by saying thank you guys so much for joining me. Thanks SFPBO buddies for coming and hanging out. And thank everyone who's been watching for watching and commenting and asking questions. If any, we could maybe go back through and comment on some things, although I think the chat shuts down a bit after we end this stream. But if you're looking for our books, a number of people asked for links and stuff. If you scroll way up in the chat, I posted some websites that people who actually gave me their websites. Otherwise, if you go to our the corncon2020.com, the panelists are all listed, and we've included people's websites linked to their bios. I just added that before this panel started. So so you can find everyone's website, and presumably if their websites are well organized, you will also find their books. So thanks so much, everyone. And thanks everybody for being here. I'm so excited that this event is actually working, and we seem to, we're all here. And really, again, I would say my biggest takeaway from this whole competition is these lovely 8 people that you see, 1 person that you can't see who wasn't able to join us, but the 9 other finalists have been my best takeaway from SFPBO. Lovely humans.
Agreed.
Yeah, same here.
All right, that's 5 p.m. It's time for the next panel. So I'm going to kick you all off.
See you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.